You have learned so much in COMM 1113 about being an others-oriented communicator and an audience-oriented presenter. Now, I'm asking you to put it to the test in a way that you have not yet done so before. In my opinion, the persuasive speech requires even more audience orientation than an informative speech. If you're going to persuade me about something, I pretty much need to know that you care about me, or that you're speaking to me in a way that I can hear it. I even think about commercials on television. Now, not every commercial is going to hit every person in a way that persuades them, but think about the most successful commercial you've ever seen and ask yourself, why were you persuaded? Were you persuaded to donate? Were you persuaded to buy a product? Were you persuaded to change something? And why? I would reckon, there's another Southern word, that it's because they were audience oriented. One way to make sure that you're being audience oriented in your persuasion is to use the motivated sequence organizational format. I love this organization. Inherently, it is audience oriented. Another thing to keep in mind as you're working through your persuasive speech is Aristotle's rhetorical triangle. That is your ethos, your pathos, and your logos. And I'll quickly describe those for you right now. Your ethos is your credibility, your trustworthiness. To be honest, you're not going to persuade me to something if you don't seem credible. So make sure you're keeping your credibility in mind. This also plays into your tone and style, that nonverbal communication that we learned about earlier in this course. Your pathos is your emotion, emotional impact. One great way to accomplish this is to tell me a story. Perhaps you're going to persuade me to wear my seatbelt. Well, tell me a story about somebody who was seriously injured or lost their life in a car accident because they were not wearing their seatbelt. That will persuade me. And lastly, we have your logos or your logic. This is your reasoning and argumentation. You'll support this with facts, figures, case studies. You must have your sources. Please be careful not to fall into a trap of logical fallacies, which you'll learn more about in chapter 15. I know that you have so much inside of you that you are passionate about. There are so many things that if you sat down to persuade me about, you probably could. But as you pick your persuasive speech topic, think about timeliness. Think about your audience. Be audience-oriented in the topic that you choose. Make sure that you won't fall into logical fallacies. Make sure you can support what you're saying with 4 to 5 sources, one of which must be academic. Make sure you can say it all in your time limit of 3 to 5 minutes. You've got this, and I sit here ready to be persuaded.